Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Carlos Barja and today we're going to talk about the development of drones for the transport of goods. The main purpose of this presentation is to discuss whether if Airbus should get into this business or not, depending on the advantages and the disadvantages that we will talk about later on. Let me tell you that you will be able to see these slides between every section because you might not see them as well in here. Okay, first let's make a brief introduction. Do we know what a drone is? They work pretty much the same as any other aircraft, but what makes the difference between a drone and any other aircraft is the fact that they have no crew inside them. That's why they're also called UAVs, which means unmanned aerial vehicles. Drones have a lot of applications. They can be used for the transport of goods, for military purposes, for photography, for thermal sensors, or even transport of people in the future. Their popularity has grown a lot in the past few years, and it will keep growing as we can see in this graph right here. So here comes the question. Should Airbus invest in this field or not? We're going to discuss this later, but first, let's introduce Airbus. The European company, based in France, is one of the largest in the aerospace industry, and we may know it for the production of commercial aircraft. This one right here is the Airbus 380, and is one of the biggest planes in the world. Actually the largest one. What about the drone world? Airbus has been producing military drones for the past 10 years for many countries, as we can see in this picture right here. But it has been the past year when the company started developing drones with commercial purposes. We will talk about that later on. Moving on, I made a market research. I studied two factors that I feel that they would be a great advantage if Airbus decides to produce the drones for the transport of goods. The first one is the competitors. Most of these companies are yet too small and not as powerful as Airbus, but they actually represent a great opportunity for investing. Let's look for an example. DJI is the biggest company in the world for producing drones. It actually holds the 70% of the market. But let's compare both companies. DJI has a revenue of $2.83 billion, and meanwhile Airbus has a 93.4 billion of US dollars of revenue. I think this is enough to check how powerful is Airbus compared to DJI, which is actually the biggest company in the world. Let's remember that. I think Airbus could use this power to have more resources and more economic power than the other companies. The second factor that I studied is the online shopping world and the way it's expected to grow in the next few years. In 2017, $2.3 trillion were spent in online shopping, a number that is expected to grow even more. In this graph right here, we can see the percentage of online shopping compared to the total money spent on shopping. And this is expected to be around a 17.5% around 2021. On the other hand, we have a graph that shows the share price of Amazon, and we can see how this company has grown a lot since 2015. Yes, online shopping is expected to grow a lot, and someone has to deliver your product to your house. So if this is expected to be done by drone, Airbus has a new reason why they should start producing drones for the transport of goods. Our next step is studying the economic costs. There are two main costs that we have to check out here. The first one is the production cost. This one shouldn't be a big problem for Airbus, since producing an aircraft is way more expensive than producing a drone. Actually, there's a new advantage here. We can sell drones for a very high price and produce them for a low price, which means drones have a very high profit margin. On the other hand, we have the settlement costs. I feel like this would be a big disadvantage for Airbus if they decide to produce drones for the transport of goods. Creating a new area in the company, hiring new staff, and getting everything ready to work would mean a high amount of money for the company. Let's move on to the biggest problem in the drone world at the moment, the lack of legal and political framework. A recent study shows that 31% of the experts here in Spain think that this is the biggest problem at the moment, way ahead of other issues such as cyber attacks or drones being a risk for other aircrafts. There are many laws, anyways, that still affect drones, and one of them is very, very detrimental for delivery with drones. This law doesn't allow drones at the cities, which means that we will be missing lots of clients, but we can still use this technology to reach many other people that don't live with them. We've just been talking about the biggest problem at the moment in the drone world, but this one, cyber attacks, is supposed to be the biggest problem in the future. Right now, terrorists and hackers are not very focused in drones, but once they are, they may cause a lot of trouble, and media is already talking about this. Anyways, why is this a problem for Airbus? The company is going to have to develop a very secure system, which means a lot of money, and if anything happens with a drone, Airbus might be responsible for the accident. Let's continue with another disadvantage. Drones can be a very high risk for other aircraft. There hasn't been a plane crash caused by drones yet, but anyways, the Sunday Times recently reported about a drone nearly hitting another aircraft by the London Heathrow Airport, nearly causing a disaster. Drones are rated as an A risk, which is the highest one on the scale. If a drone hits another aircraft, the effects would be really similar to the ones caused by birds. We can check them right here in this picture. Anyways, there are many other advantages that I just want to mention. If Airbus gets into this business, the company would be creating more and more employment. And on the other hand, drone developing means less pollution. In summary, if we take into consideration everything that has been exposed earlier in this presentation, I would highly recommend Airbus to produce drones for the transport of goods. I have the feeling that the advantages are way more powerful than the disadvantages, and some of these last ones have an easy solution. On the other hand, if Airbus produces drones and ends up failing, it would take a very short time to the company to recover from it. In addition, I would like to give Airbus an idea of my own. Drone renting could be a great business opportunity, since no big company has done it before. Since the beginning of this presentation, I've been talking about Airbus as a drone producer for other companies, working as a provider. But Airbus could produce drones for itself and use them for renting, making a lot of money out of a service that could be really fast and innovative. To conclude my presentation, there's one more thing that I would like to talk about. Is Airbus already heading this way? Is it already happening? As we can see in this slide right here, yes, it's already happening. This picture right here shows a prototype of a drone that will be used for the transport of goods. It is called Skyways. The picture on the left shows another drone that will be used for the transport of people, called the Alpha One. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time, and if you have any comments, you can write them below. Thank you.